Well, I probably know about half of you, at least, before the last 2 days from Boys Adventure Camp, the best camp. Yeah. But yeah, the other ones I might not know, but yeah, I'm Ross. You might know Erin, she's my sister. And I'm from Ballymoney, great part of the world. And yeah, I guess why I'm here. Well, Dad's our RP minister, so that's one factor. And yeah, so I grew up at Clarat's RP, and then the last 2 years he moved to Ballylagan, so I've been there a bit since. Yeah, and then Lorraine asked me to be part of the committee, so there I am. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I did primary school teaching at university, went to Stranmillis and studied there for 4 years, and then the year after that I did a thing called Cornhill Bible College 2 days a week, and I taught 3 days a week. For those who don't know, with teaching in Northern Ireland, it's quite hard to get like a permanent job with primary teaching, so I kind of knew as soon as I got into school it'd be hard to leave, so I thought I'd put that off a year or two. So yeah, first year I subbed for a bit, did Cornhill for 2 days, and then yeah, I always knew I wanted to go away for a little time. I was thinking like 6 months or a year. So yeah, I was thinking of what to do the next year, and if, I don't know, is anyone thinking of doing a gap year? There's like, yeah, nice, a few. But like, if you ever think of a gap year, there's like so many options. So it's actually quite hard to choose, but the Logos Hope is this ship you can see. It came to Belfast in 2010, and we visited it. I don't really remember much about it, apart from that we went to see it. And then, if you know Paul Wright, he also went to the ship in his younger days. And there was a girl I met on like an SU weekend in Upper Six. She had went on it, and then I just saw like stuff she posted on Facebook. So that's how I knew about it. So then I just looked into it, and I thought it sounded kind of fun, but I thought I should pray about it as well. So yeah, always a good idea to pray about things. So I did take some time to pray about it, and it was like decision day. So I went to Ballintoy Harbour and brought my Bible and a book by John Piper. So I read the Bible. I was reading through a Bible reading program, and it was Jonah. And it's pretty simple for Jonah. It just says, God says to Jonah, go to Nineveh. And I was like, wow, if it was that easy, like to know what to do with your life, that would be nice. But God didn't speak to me audibly that day. But then the next thing I did was read a book by John Piper called Don't Waste Your Life, which some of you might have read. And yeah, chapter 4 of that is called Better to Risk Your Life Than to Lose It. And the whole point of that chapter was that for lots of people throughout the Bible, there's no like specific guidance for God to go to this, go to that. So it gives examples of Esther. She wasn't guaranteed success when she went to the king, but she had to take the risk and trust that God would work. Or like Daniel in the lion's den, they might have eaten him, but they didn't. So yeah, the point was sometimes God gives us direct instructions, but not always. So yeah, take the risk. So that's why it was like my decision day. So that was like seal of approval to go for it and apply. And if it didn't work out, then I was like, that's fine. But yeah, I applied for the ship, and then yeah, a few days, well, maybe a few weeks later, I got accepted. So that was like October time, 2023. And then I left in January 2024. So. Yeah, so quite often people mix it up with Mercy Ships because it's another ship run by a Christian organization. So it is different from Mercy Ships. Mercy Ships is more medical, so if you're doing medicine or any medical related profession, you could go there. Actually, we did get to see them. At one point we were in the same port at the same time, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, the Logos Hope is run by a mission organization called OM, which stands for Operation Mobilization. It's been around since like 1960s, but they have missionaries all around the world. But they are probably their most famous thing is the ships. So yeah, this one is the Logos Hope. It's the 5th ship they've had. The first one's, well, I don't know, probably 1970, I think was the first one. But yeah, so OM is a missions organization. Their goal is to do missions. Their official statement is to see vibrant communities of Jesus followers amongst the least reached. I've heard that maybe 1,000 times since I joined the ship. But yeah, to take the gospel to the least reached. So that's the goal of OM. And their ships, sometimes it's hard to see the link between that statement and what the ships do, because the ships don't go to least reached countries. Well, this one doesn't. They have a smaller one that does go around Asia. But a lot of what they do actually on the ship, which I didn't know before, is like they go to, right, I'm kind of waffling here, but let's see. One thing is they have the bookshop. So there's a big bookshop on board, and there's like thousands of visitors come each day. So half of the fourth deck is the bookshop, and then there's a cafe, and then like an area to meet the crew members. So there is evangelism that goes on there. Also, they sell books and Bibles at cheap prices. So that's one ministry. But also a lot of what they do is when they're in a port for, say, a month, they link up with local churches and charities, and they'll send teams out to those churches or mission organizations and help them out. But also try and encourage people in those local churches and like show them how they can get involved in local missions. So they might not be going to like the least reached countries on the Logos Hope, but they're trying to encourage other Christians to be involved in God's mission in that way. Does that answer the question? Partly, maybe. Yeah.
That's good. So
Yeah.
sort of link in the chain, really.
Yes, yeah, sort of, yeah. But there is evangelism that happens on the ship, and they do, yeah, also in the places they go to. But with the whole least reach thing, the Logos Hope isn't in least reach countries usually, although they did get to go to the Middle East a couple of years ago. So, yeah, that was a good opportunity for them. Also, there's 300 people live on the ship, and they come from 60 different nationalities. So it's probably like the most multicultural environment you can get, really. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. So there's lots of different departments that are required to make the ship run. If you think about a ship, you need an engine team. So there's maybe like 30 people in the engine team to keep that going. There's a deck team looking after the outside of the ship. There's the galley. They cook all the meals. I didn't have to cook for a year, so that was good. So there's a team in there. In the kitchen, they cook breakfast, lunch, dinner for everyone who lives on the ship. Then what else is there? There's like admin people, and there's a school on board because there's families who live there. So there's about 30 kids live on board, and there's definitely some other ones as well. I joined on a 3-month program, and either you get put in the cleaning department or the kitchen or the book fair. And thankfully, I got put in the book fair, which I was happy about. So pretty much your job is it's kind of like customer service, making sure the whole thing runs smoothly. Like some days there was like 6,000 people. So you're managing the queues and like making sure everyone knows how this thing works. But also you do have opportunities in that to have smaller conversations with people. Especially in quieter days, you have more time to have longer conversations. And hopefully there will be crew members further on around who they can talk to as well and get to know. So yeah, book fair was the first 6 months. So I left then, and then the second time I went back, I was more involved with the sort of youth ministry and kids ministry and community events sort of things. So everybody who works on the ship who lives there is a Christian. Obviously the visitors, you have all sorts of backgrounds. And that was a really cool thing as well. Like you meet all sorts of random, crazy, weird people in the book fair. But yeah, lots of people I wouldn't meet in a normal day in Ballymoney, so that was cool. My first 5 months, I was in South Africa. Generally, on the ship, they're there for like 1 month, usually, and then they move on. So we had 4 ports in South Africa. There was 1 month of maintenance periods, and then we went to Namibia. Then I left and came home last summer, and then when I went back in October, that was Sierra Leone, and then there's a 12-day sail across the Caribbean to Barbados, and then there was a few islands in the Caribbean, so Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Grenada, and Curacao is where I left, yeah. Yeah, so initially I just signed up for 3 months. They have a 3-month program called the STEP program, and I mean, yeah, it's a pretty big move going to a ship, so I was like, well, I don't want to sign up for a year in case I don't like it. But yeah, the whole process, there was a lot of big decisions which I did have to trust God through. So like I arrived on a Tuesday, and on Friday they said, if you want to stay for 6 months, you have to extend by Sunday. So we had 2 days to decide if you wanted to stay for an extra 3 months. Usually there's flexibility, but with visa things, they had to get the process started. So yeah, I had 2 days to decide if I wanted to stay for 3 months or 6 months. And I didn't even know which department I was going to be in. So yeah, that was pretty crazy, but I stayed. So that was 6 months, and then, I'd never planned to go for a year, so there was things I had to come home for. Like, during that time, I got asked about staying for 2 different things. One was the lineup team, which goes ahead of the ship and gets everything ready. So that would have been actually cool. You would live somewhere for 2 months get everything ready for the ship coming, and then go on somewhere else. The other option was in the school. They always need teachers, so if anyone's a teacher and wants to go, you'll get their job, no bother. But so I got asked about those, but I did have to write that, and I also said no. And then maybe a month before I left, I got asked about joining a department. The one I did join it's called the People Development Department, but they have like two sides of things. One is the community events for people on the ship, and the other is like the ministry and the training side for people who live on the ship. So yeah, they asked me about joining that, but I said I had to go home. So I said no, but like a week before I left, and I was like, if I change my mind, can I come back? And he was like, well, have you? So, but I said to people, there's a 5% chance I'll be back. And one of the things was like financially, there is a cost involved. And especially if you go longer term, like it's like, it's like £900 a month, which the 3-month program was like £400 a month. So I was like, double, I don't know. I don't know why it is that way, but I think they subsidize the short term one. So I was like, there's no way I'd have that money. So I was like, if I was to go back, I'd probably need like £4,000-ish. And then I left the ship, and the next day I checked my bank account, and like £2,000 had come in from teachers' salaries went up, and I got back pay. So I was like, all right, there's half of it. And then, once I was home, I was probably at camp with some of you boys, and then this is so random, but I got like a text from Extras NI, who I'd done 2 days with before. And usually you get 1 or 2 days. Extras is like to be an extra in a film. Good summer job if anyone wants. But they were offering 14 days filming on a football film about Roy Keane, which is just like any other thing was like 1 or 2 days. This was like 14 days, and it's a featured role. So the lowest level of featured role. I was an Irish football squad member. Anyway, that was like 14 days filming, and that was the other 2,000. So once those two things happened, I was like, okay, well, I guess maybe I'm meant to go back. So I texted him, and it took a bit more than that, but that was like 2 significant things in the journey. So
Gauge was pretty clear then.
Just for you guys, like, I guess you always have, like, at this stage of life, there's always decisions to make, whether it's subjects or like university choices or what to do after that. So like you can see from my past 2 years that sometimes it's more clear, sometimes it's less clear, but God definitely does guide. And like, even if it's not clear for you, like if you take the wrong step, it's God, like He can bring you back in the right step. So don't worry about it too much, but do pray about it. So I definitely found, there were some big decisions to make, but like throughout it all, God was so good and faithful. So like obviously you guys probably, some of you saw the nice photos, and it might look like a holiday at times, but it's not. But it is sometimes. Now, so the way it works, you work 5 days a week. You've one ministry day, I forgot to mention this, where you are sent out to like a church or like a charity or a missions organization. And then you've 1 day off. So it is actually pretty full on. And at the time when I started, you get 7 break days per year. They now upped it to 14. So, like it is pretty full on. It's also quite intense. I don't know if you guys are introverts or extroverts, but it's kind of like being at camp, but forever. It's like, you're in a cabin with maybe 3 other people. If you do it short term, it's a 10-person cabin. And it's just like, you're around people all the time. So even if you just want to get a drink of water from the dining room, you'll bump into like 10 people you know on the way. So that is one challenge, which some people struggle with more than others. I'd say I'm slightly more extroverted, but still, like, to find your time by yourself is a challenge. Also, the foods as well was mixed at times. Actually, not bad. I live in Strand Hall, so I'd had it worse. But but powdered milk for a year wasn't great. The whole milk tasted good when I got that. But like more serious things, like part of the reason I went was to get experience living somewhere else. Also to try and get a taste of what missions work might be like. And like, to be honest, probably not the best experience for that, because if you think about it, what other mission work do you do and you're with 300 other Christians on a boat? It's like, some of it's not that transferable, but also there is lots of good things which are transferable. I definitely did grow in my faith, because, yeah, you've committed this like short time to like try and serve. People are praying for you and supporting you in prayer and financially. So yeah, you want to make the most of it. And as I say, that wasn't always from like the ship environment of like the teaching we received, but like just making sure I had that time each day with God, and also like the friendships you have there, and you have a chance to, like, if you think about it, hear testimonies of people from like all around the world, and every story is different, every person is different, but you see God's hand in that, and how they came to faith or why they're there. So yeah, definitely so many great testimonies I heard. Also, like culturally, I got to see like 10 different countries, and every country's different. All the people are different, so that was a really cool experience, which is also just good for your, I guess, broadens your horizons a bit. And then, like this week, we're talking about the church in Paul's talks, and yeah, another real blessing was the experience to, see more of the wider church. So, like here in Northern Ireland, it's quite a small place in the context of the whole Church of Jesus Christ, and especially small if you think of the RP Church in Northern Ireland is even smaller. But yeah, to meet people from all around the world, to just hear what it's like to be a Christian there or what their churches are like, that was really valuable. And yeah, probably gave me a greater appreciation of just the wider church in general. So yeah, had a good time. I would recommend, but I'd put some warnings in as well. But if you actually are thinking about it, do chat to me, and I can tell you more in depth. I'd say most of the conversations I had with people were when I was in the book fair. And like, it's just like classic questions people ask all the time, which then you can kind of lead into it. But they always ask you why you're here, or like what do you do at home, or why did like. So that was like most of the opportunities I had. So I can't really say it was that different, but I guess that's just examples of like, in everyday life there are questions people ask, or you can try and steer conversations to get to the gospel at some point. But we did get like orientations in each port to like sort of say what the challenges were or what the church situation was and stuff in different places. So yeah, there was variety. Yeah, they do publish the stats. I don't know. I'd say in the book fair about half of the books are Christians. I think generally in each port it's maybe like 25% if it is Christian literature which is sold. And like in some places like Trinidad, in Trinidad people save up money for when the ship comes and they just go crazy. Like you maybe had 3,000 people, but they're all walking out with like 2 bags of books each. And like, I don't know how many, like they had to keep getting more, like replacing the Bible section because it was just getting sold out so quickly. So like thousands of Bibles went out in that month. So they're actually going back there, I think, in a few months again. So I think in most of the countries we went to, people have a very positive like view of the ship. I don't know why, but people just love it. Like, if it came here, I don't know how many people would go to see it, but in South Africa, I think part of it is because people don't actually leave their country. Like, they can't really go on holidays abroad. So, like, if a ship comes and there's, like, people from 60 different nationalities on board, they think this is so cool, getting to meet people from all around the world. And, like, just the fact that I was Irish in South Africa, people love that. They love Irish people. So, generally, people are pretty positive towards it and, like, excited to come on board, which, might not be your usual evangelism experience in day-to-day life. But I guess that's an opportunity as well. And even in the Middle East, they were in the Middle East, they weren't allowed to, like, be as open about it all, but, like, still there. So they couldn't have Bibles on the shelves, and they couldn't directly share their faith, but if people asked questions, they could then. And apparently, just people were so interested, and, like, a lot of people wanted to ask questions, so there was lots of opportunities there. That was before I joined, but in most of the countries I was, like South Africa, most people speak English, and then in the Caribbean too. There was a few French-speaking places we went to, but most people do speak a bit of English. Everyone on board has to have a certain level of English to get on board. But if they were going to Spanish-speaking countries, sometimes they would try to recruit more people from like Brazil and stuff, or maybe that's Portuguese, but yeah. Whoops. I think before I was there, actually, they were in some countries where it wasn't English speaking, so I don't know what that would have been like, to be honest, trying to explain a book fair. I think they had local translators who then you could talk with the translator. But yeah, it's a challenge if they go different places, yeah. Also, they'd have to get other literature in and stuff as well, which takes time and all, so yeah, it's a big operation.